everybody, we're back in the shop again tonight. I figured I'd do a little video, catch you up on what we've been doing for the last couple days in the shop. It's been a little snowy and a little windy out here, and we've gotten a few things done in the shop. I got another video we're going to drop. It's quite a bit of editing though, but we took a little trip down to Adobe Town and went and scouted another vehicle to recover. So I probably ought to address that too. We put a post on Facebook a while back looking for abandoned vehicles in Sweetwater County. Basically, we were looking for vehicles that are abandoned in the hills within the last 20 or so years, I would say. They can't be historic vehicles in the hills, which is like vehicles that are put in ravines to hold back ravines from washing out and control erosion. They got to be, more recent than that. And so we were looking for tips of vehicles all around Sweetwater County that are out in the hills. And then we were going to recover. And we've done this for the last, since we started. We've done it for years. But I figured it would be something fun to do on YouTube too as well. And so if you guys know of any vehicles out there in Sweetwater County that are out in the hills, old vehicles, you've seen some of the videos like the Dodge, and the trailer. We're working on 5 or 6 more. That have been dumped, they're garbage around them, that sort of deal. We'll go in, clean them up. So drop a note in the comments or send us an email or get on the website and give me a tip. Get on Facebook, that works out good. So we took a trip down to Adobe Town, and that's like 2.5 hours away, probably somewhere in there. We went down there, we took Ray's truck, his new Duramax. It's a really awesome truck. Went down there for a scouting trip, found a way, or took a route that was from Bitter Creek, Wyoming down to Adobe Town. And I had never been down through there, at least on that way. It was a lot of fun, a lot of good terrain. It was really pretty, not a lot of traffic. We didn't see a whole lot, but you'll see more in the video. We're gonna kind of do a time-lapse video. There's like 7 hours of the trip, and I don't wanna bore you guys with a big long video, but we'll just make it a kind of a time-lapse video of most of it, so you can get an idea of what the terrain's like and what it's like down at Adobe Town. Other than that, we will get into some shop stuff here. I'll show you what we've been working on. Lots happened. Well, I don't know about a lot, but stuff's happened. So we'll get into my truck and then we'll get into Ray's truck. So what we've been doing here is on the front side of it, I got these motor mounts. They're from China. You guys have seen them in some of the earlier videos. Turns out we put the motor in. The motor's hanging out over there on the ground. But we put the motor in. We bolted up the cross member, and then that located these new China mounts. They were actually for an S10 pickup with an LS. So we did have to weld some plate on here and reinforce it. The motor mounts are back a little further than what the stock ones would be. They would be up in this area with the bolts. But it does seem to fit pretty good. It keeps it off the cross member. It's pretty adjustable. I saved probably $30 in doing it, but I spent a whole bunch more time. But I like this style of mount, and I want to see if I can make it work. And I have. It fits well. So we're going to set the motor in here coming up shortly. Motor transfer case, and we're going to set the cab on. I was waiting for the set of poly bushings for the cab mounts, so when I set the cab on, we can actually bolt it on to do some test fitting of that. And we'll have another video of that here coming up in the next few days. Let's see what else. I think we've got some solutions figured out for crossover steering and high steer. I talked with Barnes 4-wheel drive, and them guys are awesome. They make a good high steer kit. I wanted to go with the Offroad Designs kit, but it doesn't work with the front end move forward, is like what I'm doing. So I talked with Barnes. Barnes' kit is pretty neat. You can run the tie rod in the rear or in the front, and as soon as I get it in, we'll put it on and I can show you guys more. But I can run the drag link towards the rear of the front side. And I'll show you that when we put it together, and we'll see how it fits and how it works. But talking to Barnes, them guys are awesome. They got right back with me. Said, hey, we think it'll work for what you want to do as long as you have clearance. I think I will have clearance, so I'm going to order that up. And once it comes in, we'll put it on and we'll see how it does. So, the other thing I've been doing on my truck is we got the fuel tank that's underneath the bench here. It came out of a Dodge Caravan that was a handicap accessible, wheelchair accessible or whatever minivan. I ended up crushing the van, but the fuel tank is really neat. I think it was going to do what I wanted it to. It's small. It's 20 gallons. It's set up to run a Dodge fuel pump. High pressure pump in there. Can't really see it. You'll see it when I get it put in. So it should work really well. It's got a tip over valve in it. It's really stout. And so what we're going to do is I put these braces in here. They're going to double as cross members as well for the rear frame. We want to stiffen it up as much as we can. We want to add as much structure and support to the rear of this as possible, because we're going to be yanking and pulling with this truck. And so we need the frame to be really strong. We want it not to go diamond shaped, and we want it not to break. So I got these big 4-inch by 4-inch angle iron pieces. We're gonna set the tank down on top of them. We're gonna have to notch the sides a little bit, and then we'll box them to keep the strength in. And we'll set the tank down in there so it sits on top of here. It's not gonna be any lower than the bottom of the frame. It'll keep it up out of the way. It should work really, really well. I'm pretty happy with the whole setup. Other than that, disc brakes on the rear are done. The calipers are adjusted. It's got the proper brake pads in it for the parking brake Eldorado calipers that are on it. 76 to 78 Eldorado calipers I got on it. So they're good. I have the brake lines temporarily hooked up. I don't have any rubber hoses in there, but I got them temporarily hooked up right now. We'll end up cutting them back, putting rubber hoses on it, because with the flex of the caliper going in and out, it will break that brake line. The park brake cables, we got to get the brackets in there for that. Once the cab's on, we'll deal with the park brake stuff, but it will have park brake. The next step is we're going to take out this rear cross member here, which was the rear fuel tank mount. The front fuel tank mount, I already got it out and it's gone. We replaced it with the angle iron. We're gonna take this rear cross member out here, or the rear fuel tank cross member, I guess, out here, and then we're gonna put a piece of 4-inch by 4-inch square stock in here, and then we're gonna bob the frame right after that. And it just clean it up a little bit, shorten it up a little bit on the back side of it, and it'll work good. We're gonna do the same thing in the front. It'll help out, give you a good spot to mount a bumper, that sort of deal. But that's where I'm at on this thing so far. We'll look over here at Ray's truck. So we got Ray's truck over here, and he's been busy with it. It's still got the short leaf springs under the front. I think we're gonna go with 54-inch leaf springs on the front, and he's gonna do a 2-inch add leaf. We'll see if that'll get it up high enough. These are 6-inch lift Skyjacker springs, I think is what they are. And this is about as low as this thing can get, but they're not the 52, so the front end's in the stock spot. If you turn the big wheels, or big tires, big wheels and tires, I guess, and flexed it out, it would not clear the cab. So the front end's got to move forward, and then we got to do a little more work with it. He's got a bunch of stuff we got to do to make the steering clear and everything else. Because if you look at it, the steering's pretty tight as it is, and the front end's still in the stock location. But the cab's sitting on it. Actually, the funny thing is, this is the cab that was off of my Suburban frame. And Ray isn't scared of a little hard work. Ray's the king of crew cabs. Like, he's got a handful of them. He's got them in about every configuration. I think I talked to you a little bit about this before. But basically, he doesn't want to waste a crew cab on this project, because we're going to beat it up. We're going to go out in the hills. It's going to get dense, and he'd rather not waste a crew cab. He wants it to be nice enough that it's presentable, but he doesn't want to waste one to dent up or beat up, because it can be built into a truck. Ray's solution to the whole situation is basically he took the Suburban body that I had, and I'll show you here. So he took the Suburban body that was on my Suburban, and he's going to make it into a crew cab. And it's not going to be a perfect clone of a crew cab because there are some differences in Suburbans versus crew cabs. But you can build a crew cab out of a Suburban. The things we've seen so far, he's just bobbed the back of this Suburban off here. But as you can see, the roof, how it is, it has a hump. It goes up, it has a body line that's like right here, and this body line right here is not in the pickups, and then it kicks up here and gives you, I guess, more headroom. But the hump and the body line are not in a crew cab pickup. And so he can either reskin the roof, and he's probably going to end up doing something like that, or we can taper it down and stay with a little more headroom for the back seat. Either way, it doesn't really matter. But eventually, we're just going to take Ray's going to take a cab in the back of a regular cab pickup and seam it in on this, where it laps the body right here and then up at the top, and reskin this with the back of a pickup. There is this brace right here is a little different on the pickups versus the Suburbans. As you can see, the mount right here for the Suburban is right here on the outboard of the frame. The pickups, the mount is inboard here, and it's on a cross member. And so that's a problem I'm going to have to deal with when I put my crew cab on there. And it shouldn't be too bad, but basically they mount a little bit different on that very back mount. I think Ray's solution is we're just going to use this mount right here, and we're going to bolt it in there and not worry about it. But I think putting the back of a pickup cab on here, and if we do it right, drill the spot welds and do it right, it should look really good, and it should be really simple. So that's in the progress. He's found some seats kicking around and a few things here, just kind of seeing what he's got, what he can find. This thing was pretty stripped out when I pulled it off that my frame, and I really wasn't worried about it. It's not very good. Yeah, it's good where it needs to be good, and it's bad where it needs to be bad. There's not really rust in it. The firewall's good. There's no rust at the bottom of the vent cowl panel up here. There's not rust in the floor or the braces or any of that stuff. But the rockers are beat up, as you can see. They've had a rough go in life right in here. They're all bent up, beat up, that sort of deal. But we're not going to need them. We're going to weld in rock sliders anyways, so it really doesn't matter that the rockers are beat up. We want it to be presentable, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And so they're all solid here. It's all good metal. So we can take them, we can cut out the rockers. We can take that, it's all solid metal, weld in, rock sliders to the body, and it should work good. The other elephant we got in the room here is Ray's truck is huge. That is about the lowest it can be in real life here. They can't get very much lower at all and still clear the 44-inch tall tires, especially with the wheels with the offset they're in. So Ray's truck is just going to be really big. It is 7 foot 8 inches tall right now. When we measured it to the roof up there, it was like 7 foot 8 inches. It might end up at 8 foot tall total when it's all said and done. We still got to play with a little bit of stuff, but it's probably gonna be close to 8 feet tall. It's got a ton of ground clearance. As you can see, the transfer case doesn't really hang down past the frame very much. There shouldn't be much that hangs this truck up. It should do very well. The only problem is when you have a truck this big, it does get kind of top heavy. But it is what it is. I thought my truck was big, and I was excited about mine. It is a lot smaller compared to Ray's. His tires are 7 inches taller than mine. He's got probably a couple more inches of lift than I do right now. He's looking at like probably somewhere between 6 and 8 inches of lift. And we want to try and keep it as low as possible, so we're trying to split hairs on Ray's truck to get it, you know, to stay down as low as possible, to try and keep the ground clear, you know, try and keep the top heaviness to a minimum. I'm probably sitting at about 6 right now inches of lift and 37s. So overall, I think Ray's truck is going to be about 9 inches taller than mine. That's just fine. I'd rather, when I build my truck, I think we're going to make it to where it clears 40s, because I think I'd like to step up to 40s eventually. 37s are good, but looking at them side by side, it makes me feel like my truck's stock. And it's actually not a slouch right now. I mean, it's decent size. It's 6 inches of lift on 37s, but looking at Ray's truck in comparison to mine, it is considerably larger. But that's okay. So I'm going to keep building mine, and mine's going to be low and sleek and fast. Ray's just going to be a big monster. I haven't named my truck yet. I don't do a ton of naming vehicles, and I don't know why. Mine have always had a mascot, I guess. And so they kind of, I don't know, I guess find their mascot. My Chevelle, my 66 Chevelle it was Tom from Tom and Jerry. I had a little Chevy short bed. There was a hot rod. It was a bulldog. You know, they kind of find a mascot more than they find a name. I probably should name them because we have a hard time telling them apart. Because there's big Suburbans, and then there's big trucks, and this truck and that truck, and yeah, they kind of all have nicknames, but they're all pretty much nail on the head. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about naming trucks, and you know, kind of what you guys think about it. I'm not opposed to naming it, and I think it would be good to name it. I just don't know if I'm going to name it a name or like a mascot or you know, like the banana and that sort of stuff with Matt's Offroad. You know, they all kind of have, you know, a little bit of kind of names, but my stuff's always been a little more nail on the head, you know, head kind of names or something to that effect. Hell, who knows? But let me know what you think, and we'll kind of go from there. I'd like to be able to call it something just other than the off-road truck. So let me know what you think. We'll keep you updated on what we got going here coming up, and keep an eye out for the video. If you got a tip on an old car or something, you know, old car laying out in the hills that we can go recover in Sweetwater County, let me know. We work with the BLM, we work with Rock Springs Grazing, we work with the Sheriff's Office, we work with pretty much any agency, the Forest Service, to get this stuff removed. I'd rather get it removed sooner than later, because if it hangs out in the hills, it ends up being a big mess, and it's just more effort for us to clean up, and more stuff that blows around out in the desert that makes the desert look horrible. So keep us in mind if you're out in the hills looking around, running your dog, whatever, you come across an old car laying in a ditch or whatever, give me a tip on it. I don't care how old it is. You know, we can't remove stuff that's what they consider historical, but if it's, you know, even if there's a question about it, let me know. I'll get with my contacts at the BLM or Rock Springs Grazing or wherever, and we will see if it's going to stay, if it's not going to stay. I like to mark them on my Onyx Off-Road, and that way I just know where they're at. So in the future, if somebody gives me a message or whatever, you know, I can say, well, that one's a historical one, and it's got to stay. If not, you know, there's a few of them that I've heard about out in the hills. A few of them I've seen a long time ago, and I haven't really went back to look at it. So I guess that's a pretty good recap for tonight on what we got. Keep us in mind. If you find cars out in the hills, let us know, or pieces of cars or whatever, and we'll get them cleaned up. It's something fun to do for us. Gets us out of the house on a Sunday, and helps out the ground, or, you know, the cleanliness of our county. We're not going out of Sweetwater County for right now, just because of work and time frames and all the rest of the stuff. So, you know, inside Sweetwater County if we can. So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.